It's so typical. He's good, decent, stable. He fulfills all of the expectations of what a good guy is. The friends and relatives adore him. He's even perfect on paper. Yet nonetheless, she goes behind his back, leaving him in the dark, perplexed, and lovesick, unable to figure out what went on. But I'm a good guy, he ponders. I did everything right. This scenario plays itself out in relationships everywhere, leaving both women and men wondering what really does make relationships succeed. If being good isn't enough, what is? I've worked with couples for decades at every stage of their relationships, from the honeymoon stage through to the stage of severance. I've witnessed the confused expressions of decent men who just can't understand why their girlfriends are not satisfied when they are doing all they know how. And I've encountered blunt, candid feedback from women about what's missing in these seemingly solid relationships. The discrepancy between these two reports tells us something strong about what we think will make relationships work and what will really do it. The truth is both simpler and more difficult to listen to than much relationship advice suggests. Being a good guy, steady, nice, employed, non-abusive, is the baseline for a relationship, not the ceiling. They're the relationship equivalent of this restaurant has chairs and food. They're necessary but insufficient. They get you on the board, but don't win you the game. And understanding this distinction is key for any man who's been left behind scratching his head wondering why. So let's start with what's actually going on beneath the surface when a woman leaves a perfectly good relationship. Contrary to some negative opinions, it's not usually about finding someone who makes more money or who is more conventionally handsome. Those superficial upgrades might motivate some people some of the time, but they don't explain the trend we're discussing. When women leave good guys, they're not typically leaving for something that's subjectively better. They're leaving because there's something integral missing. All too often, that missing piece is emotional depth. Many men have been taught that providing stability and avoiding conflict is equivalent to emotional support. But for many women, emotional connection is more profound. It means being deeply seen and heard. It means having someone who can work through emotional ground with them, not simply sit on the sidelines doling out rational advice or silent encouragement. Women leave relationships not because they don't care about their partners, but because they don't believe their partners really know them. This happens in everyday life. He thinks that staying quiet as she dumps about her stressful day is beneficial. She assumes that his quietness equates to disconnect. He thinks that keeping out of arguments keeps peace. She perceives this as keeping away from conflict and not embracing genuine closeness. He shows love through doing practical acts of service. She requires spoken complimenting and engaging discussion. Both patterns are not wrong, but the incompatibility creates a growing emotional distance. Another key aspect is the difference between comfort and passion. Most good guy relationships are very comforting. Financial security, reliability, niceness, stability. These are wonderful qualities to be rid of. But human beings, particularly in love relationships, need both comfort and energy. We need safety and excitement, predictability and surprise, routine and adventure. When things get too comfortable without retaining some degree of passion and growth, they start to become more like platonic roommate situation rather than a romantic relationship. This does not imply that women are looking for drama or chaos. It implies that they're looking for aliveness. Relationships that don't have this can feel suffocating even if they have good qualities. One can be treated well and still feel empty if the relationship has stagnated. Women often leave not because they don't value stability, but because they require that stability with ongoing growth and exploration. There is also the issue of personal growth trajectories. People develop throughout their lives, establishing new interests, perspectives, and priorities. Couples mature in good relationships together, supporting one another's development and remaining bonded. But sometimes, even in a good relationship, growth is lopsided. One develops and the other does not. One enjoys change while the other resists it. If a woman feels her own development is being hindered or overlooked within a relationship, even an utterly beautiful one, she may finally choose her growth over the relationship. This is not selfishness. This is self-preservation. Holding on to a relationship that stunts your becoming is a self-betrayal that, over time, gives rise to resentment. Good guys are dumped by many women not because they don't see their good sides, but because they've attempted in vain to synchronize their development with that of their partner and discovered it is not possible. And then there's the emotional labor. In the majority of hetero relationships, women do all the emotional labor, remembering birthdays, planning social gatherings, inviting family over, staying sensitive to tensions, having difficult conversations. They become the de facto relationship manager, which becomes exhausting over time, especially when nobody appreciates it. The majority of good guys don't realize how much behind-the-scenes emotional effort their partner is putting into maintaining the relationship. When this inequality persists, women will ultimately determine the effort isn't worth the reward. So what can you do if you're a decent guy who wants to create an enduring relationship? Start by realizing goodness alone isn't sufficient. Kindness, reliability, and decency are your entry ticket, not your key to success. Along with these basics, effective relationships possess several distinguishing characteristics. First, put emotional intelligence ahead of problem solving. When your partner is reporting difficulty, don't leap in and try to solve it. Instead, listen to the emotional information in what she's telling you. That sounds really frustrating is often better than here's what you should do. This is not about never being useful practically. It's about knowing when she's seeking connection, not solutions. Developing emotional intelligence is not about being less rational. It's about infusing emotional sensitivity on your existing strengths. Second, remain curious about your partner. Long-term relationships do not end due to conflict, but due to indifference. Believing that you already know everything you need to know about your partner is relationship poison. People are always evolving with new ideas, emotions, and desires surfacing over time. Partners who stay engaged join with ongoing interest, asking and listening in order to understand rather than respond. What was significant to you about that? How did that touch you? What are you hoping for? To ask these types of questions with authenticity creates ongoing discovery, which keeps a relationship vibrant. Third, cultivate your own interests and growth. While it might seem counterintuitive, having some independence in a relationship seems to keep it more robust. Women are not interested in men who make them the sole hub of their lives. You become a good partner with your own goals, friends, and interests. You have something to talk about, to exchange, to argue over now and then. It prevents the relationship from becoming the cause of all meaning in your life, something no relationship is healthy enough to handle. Fourth, balance stability with surprise. Stability is necessary to feel comfortable in relationships, but surprise creates aliveness. This does not mean large and grand actions, though every now and again those do have their place. It can be something as simple as suggesting a spontaneous weekend trip, eating at a new restaurant, introducing a provocative topic into conversation, or being physically intimate with new creativity. A little novelty goes a long way to keeping relationships from becoming hard routine. Fifth, become skilled at resolving conflict constructively. Most good guys boast about not engaging in arguments. Healthy conflict is not the enemy of a good relationship. It is a necessary part of one. Conflict-free relationships tend to be shallow, as partners suppress real reactions to preserve surface-level harmony. Learning to disagree respectfully, to express hard feelings without blame, to receive criticism without defensiveness. These skills create the safety of feeling that allows real intimacy to develop. Sixth, distribute the emotional labor. Pay attention to the unseeable work your partner is doing to make your relationship and social relationships go. Who reminds people of birthdays? Who notices when the relationship needs some mending? Who initiates the difficult conversations? Who stays in contact with friends and family? If these activities disproportionately land on your partner, make a point to share them more equally. This can include learning new skills and sensibilities, but the effort demonstrates that you are concerned for your partner's well-being as much as your own. Finally, recognize that relationships require maintenance. Most men approach relationships like machines that will work if nothing is intentionally out of place. But relationships are more like gardens that need regular tending. They require attention, care, and occasional problem solving before issues become critical. Check in with your partner regularly about how she's feeling in the relationship. Create space for honest conversation about what's working and what needs adjustment. Don't wait for problems to become severe before addressing them. The irony is that most good guys are very well able to create wonderful relationships. The same qualities that make them good, conscientiousness, commitment, a need to please their partners, are excellent assets when employed with mindfulness and finesse. The task isn't in being someone else, it's in expanding your sense of what relationships need in order to thrive. Women don't leave good men because they are flaky or ungrateful. They do it because goodness by itself fails to create the emotional bond, growth, and vitality that provides significance to the relationship. You create unions which women won't leave, not because they think they must stay, but because staying is still an intentional, willing choice if you create those components with your innate decency. The most healthy relationships are not the ones in which couples never consider breaking up. They're the ones in which couples choose each other every day, not because they're in the habit of it or because they feel they ought to, but because the relationship is still a source of joy, growth, and connection. Being a fantastic partner is about creating that kind of relationship. One that your partner stays in not because remaining seems impossible, but because remaining feels indispensable.